Well, hello my friends, we meet again. It has been a while. Where should we begin? And yes, it is time for another video on Iron Maiden, this time on their epic track, Wasted Years. Now, in comparison to basically every other Iron Maiden song in their catalog, which usually sounds very epic, grand, triumphant, soaring, glorious, whatever you want to call it, right? Wasted Years in comparison has always stood out to me because there's a very different feel to it. It feels very homesick. It feels bittersweet. It feels like, well, years that have been wasted, right? It feels like time passing by at breakneck speed. The song has this feeling. But why does it feel like this? Well, there are a few very cool music tools that the band used to make it sound this way. So without further ado, let's get on into the video here, guys. And by the way, my band Mistake just dropped our debut album. Definitely very Iron Maiden influence. You should go check it out. That's enough self-shilling. Let's get into it. All right, so Wasted Years came out all the way back in 1986 and was written by Adrian Smith. Now, by this point in Iron Maiden's career, Smith had been traveling, touring, recording, and playing shows nearly constantly for about 6 years or so with the band. You know, that can take a lot out of a person, you know, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Not that I would know, I've never been on a world tour. So Smith would write Wasted Years to express his feelings regarding the experience of the last half decade with the band in a sort of cathartic way, is my headcanon about this, right? So now the song is constructed in a what feels like to be a very symbolic way, very musically symbolic here. The opening main riff is like the band traveling in between locations. The verses represent sort of the Iron Maiden shows. The big choruses feel somewhat trapped in between these two worlds, right? I'll explain all that in just a few minutes, so bear with me, right? It is clear to me that Adrian Smith was feeling some sort of melancholy, or perhaps was feeling torn between the high highs of the shows and the turgid slog of a working band touring nearly constantly in the 80s. And the whole song is written around these feelings, and that's why it's such a great, relatable song. So we have to remember that if you were a touring musician back then in the 1980s, there was no internet, there was no cell phones, no texting, and trying to stay in contact with loved ones back home would be a massive challenge. Sending letters, phone calls when you can, especially when it's overseas, the time zone difference. It must have been a real double-edged sword to be living the dream, so to speak, but to also become completely out of touch with what you knew before, right? Everything you knew before has just been gone by. And so what Adrian Smith came up with is a song which, in my opinion, perfectly captures the feeling of time rushing by you at breakneck speed, of that tangible sadness of the changing of the seasons, right? The tangible decaying of potential energy of your life and different sections and portions of your life. It all starts off with the great famous guitar riff. All right, so the song begins playing this very famous riff. One of the first riffs every guitarist seems to learn, right? It's very fun to play, it's cool. You can play it the easy way, like I'm gonna play it, or you can play it the little bit harder way, but essentially it's just this. So yeah, that's basically the riff right there. I think the way it's normally played is actually like this. So instead of just hitting, you know, the 16th note and then going back to the open E, you know, you play an 8th note or something. But it doesn't really matter. The effect is still the same, right? This riff really sounds like something somebody would come up with sitting on a tour bus, like on the highway, right? You sort of have the driving road underneath represented by the E string. And you can imagine someone just sort of lean back in their chair, sort of just going like that, right? Yeah, so if you think about it, every note that's hit besides the pedaling E is sort of like a destination. And then every destination goes right back on the road in between, sort of thing. Very cool. But yeah, very symbolic, very interesting riff. Definitely feels like traveling. It's like we're going somewhere. And it's a very dark sounding riff too. It's not happy. It's lonely almost in a way, right? Very, very cool opening riff, and one that gets repeated throughout the song. One of the greatest riffs ever. Just so simple and genius. Love that riff there. This riff here, in addition to being just an excellent sounding riff on its own, is also very, very musically symbolic. Essentially, this is a pedal tone riff, which means it constantly keeps pedaling the same note in between melody notes. This gives us such a feeling of traveling or time passing by, like we're making different stops. Like someone sitting on a tour bus, driving at highway speeds while scenery flies by. It's really such a great symbolic riff. I also like that this riff here uses essentially every note of the E minor scale besides the 7th, which makes it sort of feel like tour dates needing to be hit in every city or country or something, right? It's like we have to hit all these stops. Come up with whatever metaphors you like. The fact is that this song, this riff starts it off, and it starts it off in this way that already feels sort of melancholic and homesick to it, right? Symbolically, to me, this riff represents like the continual blur of time and places passing by. Yet, it isn't this exciting brand new feeling, right? It's much more of a tired, homesick feeling to it. Really, really great stuff. I said earlier that this also represents the in-between of shows on tour, right? And the whole band sort of plays along with this feeling, most notably in the drums, which basically every time this riff is played besides the bridge, the drums back off and Nico doesn't play the typical 4/4 beat that we have, instead opting for this hi-hat accent pattern, which emphasizes the melody notes on the guitar. Steve Harris's bass playing here also does this as well, playing the low E note before repeatedly playing this descending pattern, which to me could almost sound like a plane landing or perhaps offloading a bus full of gear, right? It just sounds like we're returning somewhere. Do 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 do. Love it. It's only until we get to the bridge and the guitar solo that this riff is given a drum beat as well. Now, the reason why I say the verses represent the Iron Maiden shows themselves is that right after the intro, right, the band has been traveling, we land on this big power chord on D, which is the 7th of E minor, which of course the band does not play that 7th at all during the main riff there. So in a way, when they hit that big D power chord, it's like the band have landed at their destination on tour, right? We're suddenly in a new place. Da-da! It also leads right into the verse. But to me, I can just picture it in my head, right? The house lights come on, Bruce is standing up, the big chord, and then the vocals come in. We're at the show. Again, just fantastically symbolic stuff here. The verse of the song is sort of very typical Iron Maiden. Bruce is singing, and lyric delivery is excellent as always. Steve and Nico, the rhythm section make it sound like a well-oiled machine. I won't spend too much time here on the verses because I find it's kind of typical Iron Maiden, but I do want to point out one cool thing that they do here. So the band pedals back and forth from the 1 and the 7th chord in E minor here. Typical Iron Maiden, right? They do that all the time. Yet in each repeat of the entire verse, they are pulled down to the 6th chord only once, which to me in minor keys, that 6 is a really deeply emotional and moving chord here, right? The guitar is also playing this gorgeous add 9 chord over top of it, which is while pairing with some of the more introspective and deep thinking lyrics, really makes those lyrics and that chord hit a lot harder. Times that it's played comes between these lines, quote, "But to me it seems I'm just a stranger to myself," end quote. The next time it comes with these lines, quote, "Ain't it funny how it is, you never miss it till it's gone away," end quote. And finally, in the 3rd verse on these lines, quote, "When you can't find the words to say, it's hard to make it through another day," end quote. So those lines are also some of my favorite lines delivery-wise from Bruce. So those lines coming with that great delivery right on that sole singular appearance of the 6th chord in the verses really makes those lines feel tragic or important or emotional, right? It's highlighting those lines specifically, and that's a really cool thing that like pro bands will do to highlight just certain lines in a verse. This is the type of thing that sort of on first glance or first listen appears sort of like meaningless or random, but when you really get into it, really effective way to convey a lot of meaning or to add extra meaning to those specific lines. Just another great thing from the band. There's just levels and levels to this type of shit here, guys. So the verses are from the Iron Maiden shows, but so are the choruses here, right? But they do a really cool trick with the chords that are being played in the chorus, which gives this chorus its glorious huge lift. Again, typical Iron Maiden, but it also makes sure it retains this sort of like fatigued, homesick feeling to it. It almost feels a bit lost, like it doesn't know where home is. And the reason for that as well, the band briefly changes keys for the chorus here. Every minor scale has its relative major scale, which simply means that those two scales, minor and the major scale, share the exact same notes, just played around a different tonal center. So in this song is in the key of E minor, and the relative major of E minor is G major. E minor and G major share all the exact same notes. So in the chorus of Wasted Years, the band modulates up to the relative major of G. And that's what makes this first bar of the chorus feel so high and glorious, right? It's that modulation to the relative major. Bruce also goes and sings the B on the first note, which is the major third of G, which creates this big, old, grand G major chord, which combined with all the guitars playing these power chords just sounds so glorious and epic and huge. And just so we're clear, just because something is in a major key does not mean that that is going to sound super happy and cheerful like how we mostly think of major keys. In fact, Wasted Years kind of feels the opposite because we moved to major, right? In the chorus, the band plays a really nice, beautiful chord progression, which starts on G major and really lingers on C major and the D major chords, which are the 4 and 5 chords of G major. However, they also frequently come back to the A minor chord, which is the minor second, as well as starting the second half of the chorus on E minor. Now, it sounds very major when I put the song on a piano with the vocal melody and the chords as triads below it, but because Iron Maiden play mostly with these grand power chords, right, which don't contain any major or minor thirds, doesn't really sound like a typical major key that we all know. Rather symbolically, the chorus sounds very bittersweet and full of longing. The second half, starting on the E minor chord too, really gives it this sort of ambiguous feel to it, which goes right along with the lyrics of the song, which is all about being homesick and being a stranger to yourself and to where you've come from, right? Being lost in the commotion of it all. Now, this E minor chord, which comes in the fourth bar of every chorus repeat, really begins to maybe almost imply that the second half is minor now, or we could almost look at the whole thing as minor. So as you get to the second repeat of the chorus, it really starts to feel like, what key are we really in? Are we in E minor? Are we in G major? Where are we, sort of thing? And that's what makes this chorus sound the way it does, so homesick, so longing filled, right? It's this sort of dichotomy between the major and the minor. To me, this affects the rest of the chorus, which repeats the same afterwards, right? I find this to be just so interesting. Here we are in a song about losing yourself, wasting years, and not knowing where home is anymore, and time flying by you, blah, blah, blah. And in the chorus, we very symbolically find ourselves in this musically sort of ambiguous key, right? It's major, but it's also minor. We are trapped in between. Is this what really gives this chorus its very unique sound and feel? Right, and you can really hear that lift, right? And you can hear how it wants to pull us to G major. E minor. And then interestingly, they don't go up again there, right? They play this really cool, I guess it'd be like a C sus2 thing. Which is interesting, right? As C sus2 is neither a major nor minor chord. So again, there's this whole dichotomy of are we major, are we minor here, right? But on that end C there, they don't really resolve it, right? Nor maybe we go like... So yeah, C sus2, neither major nor minor, right? yeah, just a really cool song, and I just love that chorus. It's major, it's minor, it's somewhere in between. Just a really, really fantastically, musically deep chorus from Iron Maiden here, with a lot of cool chord extensions too. Just what a great song this is. Right? On one hand, the chorus feels very celebratory, that big G major chord to start it off, right? But in that same breath, we can feel this tangible fatigue and heartache, which comes, of course, represented by the lyrics of the song and those minor chords being played here. So ignore all the music theory, right? The chorus to me feels like how even through all the bombast, the glamour, the excitement of an Iron Maiden show, underneath it, right, there are still these human beings playing these songs who are missing home, missing loved ones. While it may seem all glorious and fun, there's a distinct bittersweet cost to the life that they lead. And this is what really makes this chorus so great, is it finds a way to represent that in a chorus. Great stuff here by Iron Maiden, guys. This band, you find new stuff to love every single time you look through these songs. Afterwards, we move to the bridge, which now sees the show being over, right? We are back on the road, back on the tour bus, the plane. The lights and excitement of the show, or the chorus, we could say, is gone, and we get back to time and places passing by. Yet this time, the riff is given a beat, actually. The band underneath plays a chord progression, very, very typical for Iron Maiden, underneath it, right? You got that 1, 6, 7. Harris plays a mini bass solo. Again, just more genius music symbolism here, right? This represents more of the tour, sort of same riff, but over a different chord progression over again. Again, more fantastic imagery and stuff by the band here. Love this bridge. I also really love how the guitar solo sort of evolves from the main riff of the song as well. Great solo by Adrian Smith, and the solo then leads right back into another repeat of the chorus. So it's almost like the traveling leads to this emotional outburst of the solo, then leads right back to the chorus, right? So I hope all of this made sense. Wasted Years is really a very evocative song, which in my mind is popular and has remained popular as it features lyrical themes, which yes, everyone can relate to, but it reinforces the feeling of wasted time, homesickness, fatigue, travel, and losing yourself musically as well as lyrically, right? That's what makes it so great. Through great use of specific chords to strengthen the lyrics, to these symbolic cool riffs, to these key modulations, it really just is a masterclass of songwriting by our boys in Iron Maiden, the GOATs. I'll be honest with you guys, Wasted Years was never really my favorite Iron Maiden track, but I started researching and taking the song apart actually for a different video, which is metal in a major key, but I ended up rediscovering just how glorious the song was through that. So I decided to just hard pivot and break down the song by itself for you guys. But you'll expect that major key metal video soon, and this will be in it too. So if you have any other, just some really interesting tricks in the song that you can use in your own music. I love learning about this. And if you have any other songs that you want to see me break down, be sure to leave it down in the comments. I've been Varvis. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.